Okay, hello. I'm CPW,
Greetings,
and this
Earthlings.
is Earthlings.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, well, this is Planet Earth. I think I can get away with saying that without copyright.
Yep.
This is yeah. So why are we talking about music when we should be talking about scores, which is
Yeah.
music?
Part 2, yay.
We were last doing it, unless of course you just came to the High Ground podcast. So today we are looking at music in movies, part 2, scores.
So the rules on this one are no already existing music, so soundtrack style stuff. So we want composed scores by composers on this one.
Yeah, I think we are going to be going into John Williams.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and...
You know, I didn't realise this till the other day. There are more composers out there than just John Williams.
There are indeed, yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's what I've tried to sort of stay away from John Williams. Not in the sense of, like, I don't like him, the man's a god, but it's just... like to talk about other people would make it fair, you know, because there are some great composers out there you may not have considered before.
I just want to say, whilst we're doing this, I'm actually scrolling down the scores I have on my.
It's a long ass scroll, isn't it?
Yeah, and most of them is when you get past the John Williams stuff. There's really not that much on here. Actually, there is. There's a few, but some of it aren't mine. But it's kind of yeah. So, what's your favourite score then?
This is quite a hard one actually. I tried like non-John Williams. Are we talking about?
Either.
I think probably my favourite score would have to be. I originally held it as Star Wars, A New Hope, but I mean that's one of my scores from growing up that I used to listen to, you know, on my old iPod Mark 1 at night, where you can actually envisage the whole film happening while you listen to it. But I think I've actually come now to Superman. I think that's, for me, that's probably like the definitive soundtrack. And I think you agree, don't you?
To me, yeah, I've been listening to it a lot recently. It's. I only bought it last year after watching the film for the first time in a while. Pardon?
I only bought it recently as well. Actually,
it's incredible. It's got the amount of songs that are actually on here. To me, it's superheroes. It's when you hear it, the version I've got, it's got 35 songs.
The one I've got as well. Is it the
tracks?
Deluxe one.
Yeah, it's just it's superb.
It is very good, yeah.
When I was in Wales a few years ago, I picked up Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Actually, I haven't got any of the Indiana Jones ones, but Raiders is perfect as well.
It's superb. And the track 22 on the one I've got, Washington ending in Raiders. It's to me that is.
I think John Williams is one of those composers where it's impossible to dissociate his work from the films that he's done. You know, like I saw. I mean, if anyone's ever watched on YouTube, there's a guy called the Nostalgia Critic, and he talks about old films, but he does editorials where he talks about, you know, just general things in cinema, and he's saying there aren't two themes like Superman and Indiana Jones where you could start humming one and then someone says, all right, now hum the other, and you just hum the same theme again because they sound so similar, and it's impossible to dissociate John Williams from the scores that he produces. You know, like it is with a lot of composers, but for some reason he's always the one. Whenever someone says, you know, what's your favourite film theme, probably 70% of those answers are going to be one of his, because he's done so many. And he's affected cinema in such a way.
If you look at even Harry Potter, Jurassic Park, Jaws.
These are some of the underrated ones. I mean, everyone always picks Indy, or they pick Star Wars, or they pick Superman, as we've just proved. Yeah. But yeah, you like Jurassic Park's a really underrated soundtrack. It's fantastic. And Saving Private Ryan, Schindler's List, you know, they're the sort of, they're the more depressing soundtracks, but he's able to evoke any mood.
Their character in the film, I mean, to me,
that's
you know, but outside of John Williams, for me, the one that always, from when I was a kid, was Back to the Future, Alan Silvestri.
Yeah, see, I always thought that was John Williams for so long, just because of that sort of association.
Back to the Future Overture, it's
iconic, isn't it?
I absolutely, you know, I love Back to the Future, so
that's not Michael Kamen. Who is it? It's Alan Silvestri.
Alan Silvestri, yeah. and he did was it
Avengers as well. No?
Avengers, yeah, and Captain America. The Back to the Future overture, absolutely, and when they used, he scored Ready Player One as well.
And they use the sort of opening
Yeah.
like jingles, don't they? When he uses the what is it? The
Zemeckis cube.
The Zemeckis cube, yeah, that's it.
You know what? I love it. I've got it because on the back of Infinity War and Endgame, I bought the soundtracks because I just think that he is superb.
He is fantastic. Yeah.
I tell you what, the other week I went to the WB studio tours.
Yeah.
And we when we go, we were listening to, we put on the Harry Potter soundtracks. We just randomly picked. I gotta admit that out of them all, I actually preferred the Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Harry Potter's on the weaker end of John Williams' stuff, I think, because I absolutely forgot he even did that till it was on telly the other day, actually, and when it said about the credits, I forgot it was John Williams, actually. I mean, I knew it. I probably knew it was unconsciously, but I think that's sort of like the tail end of stuff where you associate him with the music he's doing. Whereas something like George, immediately that's John Williams.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what I've done is composed a little list of other composers who've done equally fantastic work, but who you might not initially think of. So I don't know if you have as well, have you?
I recorded some notes myself, so that they would lodge into my brain today.
You could probably infiltrate the Rolodex of our brains to find loads anyway.
Yeah. I think if we ever get enough listeners to actually start up a Patreon account or something, these are the sort of things you'll end up finding as perks, as the little videos that we do, the notes we do, so you can actually see, which might be of some use if you're interested in doing films or anything that you said.
Or your own podcast, yeah.
So that's a possible thing to come in the future. So yeah, I'm ready for your list, Callum.
Yeah, well, I think one of the main ones that I think is another guy that's defined cinema, and he's equally as famous, but you probably wouldn't think of him immediately because he's not American, is Ennio Morricone. His scores for Good, the Bad and the Ugly, recently The Hateful Eight, and Django as well, isn't it?
Django?
I'm sure he's done 2 Tarantinos now, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think with Django, he might have used... So look, that's Django. This is the problem when you're running it through a player. Easiest rating.
I'm sure it is him.
Yeah.
Because and then like something like Good, the Bad and the Ugly, that's infiltrated cinema almost as much as John Williams. Everyone knows that Wild West theme and
great film.
And the Ecstasy of Gold, like that's one of the greatest tracks. Metallica use it to open their concerts every time. It's just he's one of those cerebral, like integral like composers that you can't not think of. I mean, his score for The Thing as well is absolutely scary. It's terrifying. It's just those 2 bass notes constantly, and mixed with, I mean, John Carpenter though, he's another composer. He composes all his films. That's quite a rare thing to have the filmmaker compose their own stuff. Some of his scores, I mean, they put the synth in synthesizer.
Well, it was a period.
It was, yeah, definitely, yeah. But
and Robert Rodriguez,
yeah, definitely.
Inspired by him, if I'm right.
I also thought James Horner as well. James Horner.
Titanic guy?
Yeah, but not Titanic. I was thinking more Aliens. Aliens has a great score. I think it's almost even better than Jerry Goldsmith's theme for the first film. It's just one of those scores that you remember. You might not remember it being as iconic as the rest of them, but it's a score that sounds really suited to the film it's in. It's very militaristic. There's loads of drums, and it's. And he did Star Trek Wrath of Khan as well. I didn't immediately think of him, so I wanted to go on people like that. So you got any not obscure, but maybe not ones you wouldn't think of initially?
Psycho. Is it?
Oh, Bernard Herrmann, yeah.
I just thought that the simplicity of the shower scene,
the strings, scary.
And
so his last score for Taxi Driver as well is also quite unique.
And a lot of you got Alfred Hitchcock's work. The music built the suspense. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
name the composers, but
Well, I'm sure he did more than one with Hitchcock. I know he definitely did Psycho.
yeah. I
Um,
just thought the simplicity of that was.
he also did the Twisted Nerve theme that's in Kill Bill as well. You know, the whistling one
Yeah.
that Ellie Driver sings.
That's what I like about Tarantino.
But
He
yeah,
the only recycles
that's
songs he
Tarantino,
likes. He recycles scores as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's fantastic. And takes.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Was it the one on the trailer music, which was lifted from another film?
Oh yeah. I can't remember, but I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's the sort of, you know, the composers that Tarantino chooses are in themselves iconic as well. I mean, he's chosen Morricone. I think it sampled it at least before he even got him in person. Yeah, but I think it's everyone automatically goes to John Williams, and there are so many other people out there. Like, even though he's a big composer in the sense of like on the same level, I think someone like even like Danny Elfman, you might overlook because
Tim Burton.
he's rarely not with Tim Burton. Yeah, yeah.
But the thing with Danny Elfman, if I'm right, started in a band called Oingo Boingo.
He did, yeah. His brother's in a film called, oh God, what's it called? The Forbidden Zone.
Ah.
It's like a weird hippie musical thing with Hervé Villechaize.
I like the, in Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did the shout outs to
Superman
and Batman.
Yeah, I mean, the Batman theme is one of the great ones, isn't it?
Yeah. That's like Stranger Things, Good Morning, well, I've seen that. Lego Movie 2, the Batman theme. This is Danny Elfman were pulled up. So it's, yeah. And his Mars Attacks, I mean, I'm sorry, he's like to Tim Burton what John Williams is to
Spielberg. Yeah.
So I just think it's kind of cool because when you think about it, someone starts a composer that started in an 80s pop band. You've got Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo,
yeah,
which are the alternative, I suppose you could argue. One of the guys who did Whip It, and I just think that's brilliant because he also did the music for Dark Shadows. Oh, What We Do in the Shadows. What We Do in the Shadows. Must stop getting those two confused.
Yeah.
What We Do in the Shadows. And
well, they've both got vampires in them, so it's understandable.
And his score for Thor Ragnarok was spot on.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
Can we classify Queen's instrumentals, even though it's got like dialogue in it, as?
If you must. I'm not a fan of Flash myself, but yeah, I suppose they were. It's their only official soundtrack, isn't it? I mean, because Highlander had Who Wants to Live Forever on that, but I don't think it's an official soundtrack.
No, that's kind of magic. They should actually. I don't know, going off into soundtrack territory, not scores, but they should actually do that. You got Flash's theme in the space capsule. It's just this was one I wasn't going to buy until the end of this is going to be the last Queen album I was going to buy. Yeah. And I saw it and I thought, is it going to be as bad as I think it is? Get it out of the way and let's do it.
I mean,
I was like, I'm enjoying this.
That and Hot Space were the last two I bought when I was collecting Queen albums.
Oh, terrible film. So terrible music. Terrible album. Hot Space, I bought that one first. It was on the wall when they were promoting it. Film over.
Pretty whack.
Terrible film. So music, terrible music.
Yeah,
Bohemian Rhapsody, great film.
The last person I could think of was Lalo Schifrin, whose score for THX 1138, I thought was like the last hurrah for science fiction composition. Because after that, ironically because of George Lucas, whose film it was, I think it all goes back. It goes back to the John Williams brings the classic stuff back using classic compositions and. But yeah, before that, I think science fiction was a really sort of. It was beeps and boops and synthesizers and it was electronic sounding. But I think that's probably one of the best of those types of soundtracks for sci-fi. It sounds a little dated now, like those sort of soundtracks, but it reminds you of things like Logan's Run and those really 70s images of science fiction. But yeah, that was my last one that I could think of that was quite obscure.
Well, I like. Sometimes, I mean, I know it does. If you go back to Batman, it has got that late 80s vibe to
Yeah,
it.
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
But why shouldn't we actually have it? Sometimes it's
Yeah, sometimes it's not bad to date something. It's like
it takes you back to a memory of
nostalgic.
where you
Yeah,
were.
yeah. If it dates it in a bad way,
It's like
but
if you listen to the Star Wars theme, it's like over 40. We're in 2019 now, so it's 42 years old
yeah,
since '77, and it's timeless.
of course. Yeah.
But when you listen to some of the synth heavy stuff,
It's
it takes you back to
it's
that period, and
yeah,
it
yeah.
reminds you of how great at times the '80s were
It's yeah, and like
and the '70s.
yeah, I mean, especially 70s sci-fi. That's how we thought the world was going to be. You know,
Yeah,
like overpopulated and Soylent Green as people and so
yeah,
on. You know, like that sort of despondency. But then I think I don't know if it's single-handedly responsible, but I think Star Wars brought back classical composition in films. You know, using old style music to score what's happening. You know, John Williams says on one of the documentaries, like the music lends you the mood of the scene. So if the scene is flat and boring, it's because there's generally the music isn't fitting, or it's got no music. I think George Lucas even said the only good thing that was going right on Star Wars originally was the music was on schedule, and it was 100% perfect, and it was the only jigsaw piece that fit at the time.
I like this is why I was considered, especially in Star Wars films, the music is the character, is a character.
Yeah, oh god, yeah.
And one of the ones recently was I was watching the trailer for the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And their use of Princess Leia's theme. And I watched the trailer, and you got the visuals of you got the new characters, and you get reintroduced to the Falcon, Lando, you see Chewie, Leia, R2-3PO, and you're thinking, and of course the Emperor at the end and everything. I'm watching the trailer before we get to the ending, and I'm like, I'm getting really emotional.
Yeah.
And it really upset. And more than usual. Then I'm like, because it just you're watching something, you're taking everything in, especially if you really enjoy the genre, enjoy what you're watching. But after I watched it a second time, I was like, this is really weird. And the third time, I was like, it hit me on like the third view as to why it was the music.
Yeah.
Princess Leia's thing, Carrie Fisher. Even though you see Leia, that theme is going to always be associated with Carrie.
Yeah.
And the people that cut the trailer deliberately put that music in there so that it would
evoke the feels, as they say.
And would you make it memorable. Wow.
I think that's how great scores should work. They shouldn't be, they should, you have like the so and so theme, like the Back to the Future overture or whatever. I think the themes work best when they relate to characters. They work as leitmotifs. So like Leia's theme, Indy's theme, the Raiders March, Superman's overture, the Imperial March. You can't not associate that with Darth Vader, or I call it the Force theme, but it's like the main, like when Luke's looking at the two suns, that theme, and like it's always related to when Jedi are on screen, or like the Force is being talked about, or whatever. That when you're so, and John Williams is consistently great at just having themes, like the Jaws theme. Like I can't watch a Shark program even with David Attenborough's like godlike narration and not hear that 2-note theme creeping up.
I was in earlier this year. I was in Cardiff. If you and we were in the shopping centre, and they had this big display about Save the Planet, and it had a big giant model of a shark.
Yeah.
I think it was like an art installation type thing. It was just hang there, and it was about I can't remember. It was something to do with Save the Oceans.
Yeah.
And when we were there, around the area, that whole area where it is, because this is in the shopping centre, they had the Jaws soundtrack playing.
Oh right.
So I'm
even they know.
Yeah, and I'm like going, I have to get this soundtrack, and I always get lucky when I'm in Cardiff. You go to the HMV, they always seem to have what I want. Every time I've walked out with a soundtrack or two. So I say to my fiance, I said, we're gonna go HMV. I need to see if I can get this soundtrack now. So I'm in there because there's certain soundtracks I always look for. So I ended up walking out with the score to Hateful Eight and the Jaws one. I was like, literally, yes, I've got it. So
I think
and
I
it's
can see
great.
it as well right now in your house.
My Jaws.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah, I can see it.
I haven't put it in. I haven't put it into the collection
Yeah,
yet.
it's actually that's one of his famous ones that's underrated in a way because all you know is the Jaws theme,
Yeah.
you know. But there are some other really good tracks on it. You know, like the chase at the end when it's all upbeat music, and then they just suddenly switch to, you know, Quint's death and absolutely destroy any chance you had of feeling good about the ending.
And the ending has got more, you know, when they're going back to land, swimming back to
Yeah,
land.
yeah.
It's
calm and serene. And...
yeah, it's almost horror-like.
Yeah.
It's sort of like how we just defeated the monster and we've saved the day, and
Yeah,
it's
we're
like
going
that
back.
we're going.
Yeah, yeah.
It's I just sort of, you know, it's.
I mean, it almost makes a mockery in all the sequels when they use the theme because you think, I'm not scared at all. Like, it's not. I think that's probably why I can't remember if past Jaws 2 they use it or not. I don't think they do they?
I think they do. They
Or
use it
do
in all of them.
They use it in all
the
of
whole
them.
third.
I can't remember. I haven't
They
seen
do.
3 and 4 for a long
They
time.
do. You always it's the shark theme. I think it's called.
Yeah, I mean, well, the shark even roars, doesn't it? In Jaws: The Revenge, but.
Like, I'd like to say Jaws is not the sequels are not that bad, but they.
It's just a franchise that doesn't need to exist, is it? I mean, it's just one film. You can't ever beat the original Jaws because there is only one.
I like Highlander. You mean there is only one, but then there was
Yes, yeah.
But no, I like Jaws 3. I'm gonna say it.
Yeah, Jaws 3
really
is okay.
Like Jaws
It's one of those popcorn movies, isn't it? But for sheer soundtrack genius and pacing, I think the first was unbeatable.
Yeah, but they had to do it. Let's see if he is music department.
I think even like it's not like he hasn't done weaker scores. I think his episode 7 scores was probably the weakest Star Wars one.
It really is.
It's still not as, you know, someone else's weakest one would have been terrible.
A lot of people, you don't have to like them.
No.
But the prequels.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you do have to argue that you don't like the prequels, you can't argue the music still wasn't perfect.
Music's fantastic.
Duel of the Fates is another great. You know, I think everyone sort of skips over the fact that it's from the prequels, but that's probably one of the best Star Wars themes going.
Yeah.
For pumping you up and.
Battle of the Friends.
Heroes, is it?
Yeah, Battle of the Heroes.
I know which one you mean though.
Yeah, it's if you listen to those, that's you Battle of the Heroes. Yeah, that whole in Revenge of the Sith, you are emotionally invested so much into it, and it's the music, and you don't want them to fight. It's
well, like I think all the lightsaber duel scenes have great scores. Especially like Empire. You know, when Luke is actually just getting battered by Vader, and that final scene in Jedi as well. The scoring is fantastic on that.
That's perfect to me.
Just you know, when everything comes to the end.
That's to me. I was going to mention this. That's to me. If you're the use of music,
that's great. Yeah,
perfect scene. All if you want to turn to the dark side, you got the tension just building up at the music.
Yeah.
Then perhaps you will. No, was it never or no? And you can never make out what Mark Hamill's saying.
No, I know. I think he's saying no, but
yeah. Then all it is sound. All it is the effects with the choir and the orchestration, and it's to me.
It's just pure emotion.
Yeah, and it's just you got the whirring and everything, and the music, build up to that, and it's because you're being goaded along with Luke by Vader because he not only is he touching on Luke's nerves, he's touching on your nerve as an audience member who's emotionally invested with the characters, mentioning having Darth Vader mentioning Leia as a weapon against Luke, turning her. No, you just want, and it's the music in that scene that, like, when Luke's smashing away at Vader's hand, you're there with him going, take him out.
Yeah.
Because he threatened someone
That we all love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you take the music away from that, and it's not.
boring.
Yeah.
There's so many films where you take the music away, and it's like that. I think there's a few like things on YouTube you can watch where there's edited scenes from films and the music's taken out. And they've done the throne room scene from A New Hope, and it's just so flat and weird, and you know, in real life that would be so strange not to.
When I was in, I saw it in the special editions in '97.
Yeah, I did as well.
Yeah. And because I went down, I had no money to do it, but I was at uni. I went down to London and saw it on Leicester Square.
Yeah.
And I remember, you get to the throne room bit, and then the music kicks in and everything. And after the whole epicness, if that's a word, of the movie, and when you get that whole release, and when they get it's like a wedding ceremony.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like walking down to Princess Leia to get the medals and everything. It's just. He's so emotional,
and taking you out it's like the reward scene, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like from fairy tales.
And it's like you're at a wedding and you're crying because they've saved the day and everything, and then no matter how bad and how dark it gets with the Empire Strikes Back or Episode 8 or Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
I know a lot. I don't like Attack of the Clones, but you still as soon as you fade to black and death and the music and the upbeat thing kicks in. You leave the cinema happy because
and that's how you should. Yeah, I mean, like Empire, like say at the end of that, it's dark, but when they use Han and Leia's theme, and you think, things are going to be okay. Like everyone's going to be fine in the end, and it's just it always works. I think every Star Wars film seems to end with a gathering of some sort, doesn't it? And it really works. There was one other score I did want to bring up, and it's kind of cheating because it is pre-composed stuff, but it's classical composition. Is the way Stanley Kubrick used classical music in 2001.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It is.
The famous 2001 theme.
Yeah.
It's not the 2001 theme. It's from Wagner. I think it's Wagner. I can't remember. No, Strauss, sorry.
Yeah.
But, that's impossible to separate that from 2001 A Space Odyssey. Because it's synonymous with the beginning and the ending. Whenever something grand happens and that theme comes on, even when you hear it on an advert, you think that's a pretty good theme. I like that.
I think of that, and I also think of Ric Flair from WCW and WWE.
Oh,
wrestler.
Right, okay.
So that 2001. That's two things you never actually imagine. Ric Flair wrestler in 2001.
Yeah, it's not
classical
Stanley
music.
Kubrick in the same sense.
Yeah. If we're the first people to actually do this, woo!
But even Stanley Kubrick, the way he uses composers, I mean, I can't remember who did The Shining is a really scary theme as well. It's deep bass baritone stuff, and they even used the opening stinger for Ready Player One when they go into the Day Overlook. I thought that was fantastic, but.
This is the only thing that annoys me about Ready Player One is that it doesn't matter where you go, you can still not get that soundtrack at a decent price. They seem to hype the price up everything.
Not every song's on it either. It doesn't have Joan Jett or...
the score. The
score, right, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have everything on it. It doesn't, but the soundtrack doesn't. But the score, you're still looking at over the odds prices, even compared to... It's more expensive than the likes of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. But then again... I suppose they might have to do. It can't even say it's to do with licensing so loud and Silverstream.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
I don't, but it's one score I haven't got that I really do want. Let's see if we can find out. It's music by Wendy. This is The Shining we're on now. Check it's the right one.
Oh, it's two people, isn't it? Yeah.
It's
Wendy
Carlos,
yeah,
and Rachel Elkin.
Yeah, but I mean, like it's one of those evocative scores that that's another film that would be fall flat on its arse if it didn't have the music. I mean, isn't it a film you think's really scary as well, The Shining? Yeah,
I've seen it a few times, but I don't do horror, so it's kind of like one of these ones that horror movies use it. Going to Halloween.
Halloween, yeah.
Opening bars.
Can you hear that song and not think of
Michael Myers?
Or Friday the 13th, the whispery one, by Harry Manfredini. That's another one where you just think immediately Jason. Or it's not even right because it's not even him in the first one. But that sort of association you have with the characters.
Like you introduced me to the new Halloween, and when that music kicks in, the Michael Myers theme, if that's what it's called, I don't know what it's called.
Well, I call it that. Yeah, the Halloween theme,
it's just like wow.
Yeah.
And it adds to the tension and the suspense.
Yeah,
That's why scores work brilliantly in horrors.
Yeah, I mean, it's just John Carpenter is a master of like scores, because even in Halloween, there's the 2 note dead like piano thing as well. You hear when Michael Myers is on, and even that's like, oh my god, what's gonna happen here? You know, sort of. His scores for all his films are very minimalist. It's the synthesizer and not much else, and he's another horror director where his films would be absolutely boring without music. I mean, every film would be boring without music. That's quite a misnomer, but it's that, you know what I mean, that sense of like the music is a character, an integral character.
I think it's good when a lot of there's not many that actually do it, but when the director is actually scores rather than picking the soundtracks out.
Because I think the rhythms are more in line with what he's thinking, aren't they? Like you say, Rodriguez as well. Yeah. He's fantastic at scoring his own films.
I love Robert Rodriguez.
Tarantino's sometimes.
Trouble Volume 2.
Yeah, and did he not? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Robert Rodriguez is just I'm always gonna have a soft spot. Look, plug it. If you can get a hold of a copy, Rebel Without Crew. If you like filmmaking in the 90s. It's dated now. To me it was a brilliant read about the making of El Mariachi. My favourite book, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there's another one for Jaws called The Jaws Log by Carl Gottlieb, where he talks about writing the film as well, and it's like a screenwriter's version, basically. But that's for another.
Yeah, our favourite books on film. So I think that was on film production.
That'd be another one. Who else is there? There must be other people.
So what do you mean?
Howard Shore.
Howard Shore. He was.
Rings. I mean,
you always have to be
like Lord
of the Rings.
It has
There's only one return in this
soundtrack of the Jedi. I realise. But the Fellowship theme is like another one of those you can't not associate it with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I got a fiance that likes that sort of thing. So I am not.
Or even TV, like you've got the Game of Thrones theme. Like me and my girlfriend hum that all the sodden time because it's just so, as soon as you hear that HBO static sound when it comes on before every episode, you just I always think opening bars of Game of Thrones.
I don't know. Howard Shore. Now on Howard Shore.
I'm sure he did. Yeah, he's done other things, hasn't he? Like The Aviator and
Twilight.
Hugo's great. The Scorsese film.
I've not seen that one.
That's good. It's the little puppet guy.
He conducted the orchestra for
Twilight.
Oh,
not so good.
I'm not going to hold it against him because so did Alexandra Desplat.
High Fidelity. High Fidelity is great. I love that. Ooh.
Copland, The Game.
Crash, everyone's favourite Cronenberg film they've never seen.
Make Lunch.
Yeah, so I mean, like he's done
Striptease. He did Striptease.
Oh God.
Existence, Dogma.
Which I still haven't seen.
Dogma is a fantastic film. He's got Alan Rickman and doing what anyone who is not dead or from another plane of existence would do well to cover that is right about now. he's
I mean, what about like action films? They generally have.
That's why you've made what I was going to look up.
Michael Kamen.
Michael Kamen. Yeah. Anytime you see an action film score, it's him. With the Lethal Weapon trailer.
Die Hard as well, is it?
Awesome.
Did you Die Hard? True did.
Like him, may you rest in peace.
Yeah, I forgot he was not on the earth anymore.
X-Men First Class concentration camp.
Just for those listening, that's not a film. As depressing as that sounds.
Yeah. Band of Brothers.
Yeah, Band of Brothers was the great theme I remember him doing. I'm sure he did.
License to Kill.
Did he not do Die Hard as well? I thought he did. Or was that someone else? Is that Marco Beltrami?
Before Die Hard was 1988.
It was indeed.
Die Hard!
He did.
He did Die Hard.
Yes, I thought he did. Yeah.
Lethal Weapon 2, License to Kill.
Marco Beltrami was later, wasn't he? Didn't he not do Predator as well? Michael Kamen.
Yeah, that was Alan Silverstreet.
Oh, that was Alan
You
Silverstreet.
can tell. 'Cause he uses different.
Sorry, Alan.
Alan, you, for me, it's the instrumentation that he uses.
That's the association you make.
Yeah.
Like,
so when I hear Alan Silverstreet, I hear more of a.
It's like a flourishy theme, isn't it?
I hear more like trumpets and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas I hear more of a.
John Williams is like horns and baritone and bass.
It's softer to me. It sounds softer.
Danny Elfman's very like deep themes, doesn't he? Like fast, sort of heartbeat rated.
I think electronic.
Yeah, quite. Yeah, I mean, like something like Batman, and one of his other themes that I forgot to soundtracks that I forgot to mention was scores, not soundtrack.
Yeah.
Sleepy Hollow.
He
was that great blend of like the classic Hammer style orchestration with mixing it with Tim. You know, it's undoubtedly a Tim Burton film as well.
We'll have to watch that soon.
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow's good. I like Sleepy Hollow. It's a good old tribute to like the old movies.
It's got the Emperor in it and Christopher Lee
and Alfred from the original Batman films.
Tim Burton likes it. Tim Burton. I like this Tim Burton. You know, I like it when he has a cast.
And
he
Dumbledore.
likes to use it.
And Dumbledore as well, Michael Gambon, and Jeffrey Jones, but
we don't talk about
maybe not Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon. The music. When you hear a trailer, you for action movies.
Yeah, they use the trailer music in Hot Fuzz. Don't
they?
My mind's about to go off.
I love Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Die Hard with Vengeance. Yeah, he was. Michael Kamen was. I'm gonna have to get some of his work as well. It's a shame that due to copyrights we can't actually play some of this.
Yeah, music. I know, but I'm sure you all know. I mean, someone else that's I think rose to prominence more recently with the Nolan stuff is Hans Zimmer, isn't it?
I can't believe we forgot Hans Zimmer. I have always had
but Hans Zimmer was like in the 90s. I think he was more of an action guy, wasn't he? He did things like The Rock and those sort of big, sort of massive studio action film themes that like get you pumped. And then he went into sort of
Dunkirk.
Yeah, I mean, and Gladiator as well is my favourite score of his. But yeah, he went into more of like the orchestral stuff. I think later on.
I like it. The Pirates movies.
Is that not Klaus Badelt?
Klaus Badelt did the first one.
Oh, he did the first one.
But if I'm right, he was working on it as well with him.
Yeah.
So.
Oh God, Thunderbirds. That's awful.
Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. I'm pretty certain he was on. He was on. The first one.
Yeah.
We had to, because isn't Klaus Badelt one of his proteges?
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, I mean, his score for the Nolan Batman films is great as well.
Yeah.
But not as iconic as Elfman's, I don't think. I think when I think of Batman theme, I think of his specifically as well because he also helped compose the animated series one from the 90s. Yeah. So that's the Batman I always remember. The Michael Keaton Batman and. Square jaw animated Batman as well.
He actually did the music for
Jason X.
Good musician, guitar, Mission Impossible conductor.
That must have been a weekend job.
Yeah, come on, money's money. At the end of the day, why wouldn't he want to? He might actually like this sort of film. Music. This is Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl. Music editor, music programmer, score producer, and soundtrack producer.
Oh, so he did work on it. Yeah. Actually. Oh, and The Last Samurai. That's great movie.
So isn't that John?
Tom Cruise. Yes.
Tom Cruise. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I will go see Top Gun 2, but executive producer on Iron Man, Stranger Tides. I know he didn't.
So we can actually talk about Top Gun now because remember last time we said we couldn't because it was composed all for the film. The songs weren't they?
Yeah.
So they weren't pre-existing. So we could mention Top Gun because I think the Harold Faltermeyer theme is quite iconic as well, isn't it? You always associate that with aircraft carriers and planes now.
And guitars. Guitars.
But I mean, they've got some good people on the soundtrack, like Miami Sound Machine and Glenn Fry, and
So 80s.
it is very 80s. That's why it's good though.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm not a Tom Cruise fan.
Oh, I like Tom Cruise. I like him. I like him for the work he puts into his craft. I think regardless of his personal politics, I think he's a great sort of. You know what you're getting with a Tom Cruise film, and you know he's doing a lot of his own stunts, but
What's the film like Live, Die, Repeat?
yeah,
Well, I don't know whether the name of the film, but the poster, the film case and all the poster just Live, Die, Repeat on it.
yeah.
I watched it.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. I watched it because it had Bill Paxton in it. Was it Brandon Gleeson? No.
Yeah, Brendan Gleeson. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the selling point for me, and I ended up watching it. It's like enjoyable film. The ending made no sense. So I was like, loses a point. But I gotta think, besides his belief structure, he's not made a film other than Rock of Ages in recent history that's made me suddenly go, wow, I really want to see a Tom Cruise film because I got my fingers burnt on Valkyrie.
Valkyrie was a misstep, but the latest Mission Impossible films, I thought when Mission Impossible 4 came out, I thought, this is a series that's getting on my nerves, and then it's really like a sort of soft reboot. Like they've gone back to just standalone stuff, and that's what worked with Mission Impossible. I think like the first one was always my favorite because it's a proper spy film, and I think they get a bit too sort of Fast and Furious in 2 and 3, but then later on, I think that if you watched 4, 5, and I think Fallout now is the 6th one.
Yeah,
they're good. They're good fun.
I would eventually get around to watching about that at this point.
No,
I've come back to one that I think is soundtracks that I actually really liked. It's going to be another one of these ones. It looks like I'm going to have to go onto iTunes or something to get them because these are the ones that I wish I'd bought.
Some of them are not on there though. A lot of them, but most of them are. I think.
Apollo 13, James Horner.
James Horner, yeah.
The bit where I'm thinking of the bit, just as about to take off.
Yeah.
And you've got that very. I think it's like a choir type thing.
Yeah, it's like really. It's evocative, isn't it?
Yeah, and not choir. It was Annie Lennox, wasn't it? It's her.
Oh, was it Annie Lennox?
I think it's Annie Lennox. But James Horner was the composer for it, and it does, and the music in that is perfect.
Yeah, I haven't seen Apollo 13 for a long time. I do remember that having good music though.
I love that film. To me, that is every year when we saw First Man, that was the film that to me was the comparison.
Yeah. It's like a spiritual predecessor, isn't it?
Yeah, and I know we've mentioned him already multiple times, but with John Williams, the one thing that really I like about him is he can do the gung ho.
Yeah, like
matinee movies,
stuff, yeah.
But he can do something like Schindler's List.
Yeah, that's really like. I mean, it's not the score you would immediately even pick. Maybe even in top 10 if you weren't, a film aficionado.
Yeah.
Or even Saving Private Ryan. It's quite subdued for the subject matter. You could have went. Most war films have like booming soundtracks and like sort of military sounding, don't they? But this is really like it's more like what you'd hear at a military funeral. The sort of slow and subdued thing. Yeah, there's not much John Williams can't do, is there really?
No,
he's
I think
he's sort of unfairly dominated this discussion, but it's hard not to.
It's what you grow up with, really, and that's the problem. Is our generations. More so, it's he underlies everything because he's Harry Potter. Now I'm not a Harry Potter generation. I was a Star Wars generation.
Yeah,
and but it does underlie everything. And it's because I have Superman, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Back to the Future. So it's. I'll tell you what was a good soundtrack. Just reminded me of it. Blade Runner 20.
Oh,
both of them.
The original, yeah.
Blade Runner 2049, which is Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfish. and that worked brilliantly. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
original one
So
was
evocative of the
yeah.
Vangelis one or Vangelis.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone in the world knows how to pronounce that guy's name.
I'd say Vangelis.
Chariots
of Fire.
Yeah, Chariots of Fire. Yeah, I mean, how many times has that been used in adverts in
Yeah.
this country? And,
I just think of Chariots of Fire.
Yeah,
like
I do
running on
as
the
well,
beach
yeah.
scene.
but yeah, Blade Runner's got a great soundtrack. It's like a weird sort of horn. I was going to say horny there, but that's probably not the word I was looking for. But
You're telling me that Joy and Love aren't?
Oh, they are, yeah. But I mean, it's the horns and the sort of deep bassy sounds,
Yeah.
you know, that make you feel like you're in that world. They're more sounds than they are music.
But when the
in a
car's
sense.
getting flooded.
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
end.
yeah. I mean, yeah,
and the-
fantastic.
And Vangelis callback Tears in Rain.
Yeah, at the end, yeah, and it's
It's-
literally raining.
Yeah. And the ending
Again.
of Blade Runner, the director's cut, where the
92
doors
one?
slam.
The 92 one, is it?
Either one, when the doors slam.
Oh
and
yeah, and
boom,
it's
kicks
the
into the
electronic one. Yeah.
yeah, and it just
Yeah.
kicks into the music.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. That is, I know that's very dated now, but it
No, I
actually
think that's
works.
great. I think the synthesis, no pun intended, of
Yeah.
that, like going from the composy stuff to the synth stuff at the end, it really works. It's like the end credits thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes you. It does amp you up. It's something when you come out of the cinema, and that's what's good is when no matter how downbeat the film is, you really want to leave the cinema feeling good.
Yeah.
You know, unless of course it's a film where you can't feel good.
Yeah,
you know?
like Schindler's List.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, even that ends on like a upbeat musical thing, doesn't it? With
Yeah.
them singing, what's called now, Gold of Jerusalem or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you want to leave feeling like you've been buoyed up at the end, don't you?
The ending of Schindler's List was so respectful.
Yeah.
And they couldn't have ended it any other way.
No. I mean, I think if you had a really upbeat sort of, it would have ruined the whole thing, wouldn't it? Really?
Yeah.
But
This is.
I actually recently I watched Blade Runner and then watched 2049 straight afterwards, and like the going from the original to the sequel, it's amazing how flawless the transition seems musically between the two. You'd think it was the same. They'd literally just made that the next year. It's so evocative of the original. I haven't seen anything like that in a sequel.
And if you sit through a 3 hour to 2 hour and a half hour plus film, you really, especially one that's you've got such high expexptations for, you really want it all to be perfect, and the music did work perfectly.
38 years, was it?
Well,
it's literally the time from the film, isn't it?
Yeah, 30 years.
30, was it?
No, that's 82 to. Was it 82? Wasn't it?
Yeah, 82 the original.
82 and 2017.
Yeah, so 35
years.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, sorry, the dates in the films are
30 years
on, aren't they? Yeah.
And as we record it, we are in October.
Coming up for the inset day, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah. He wants life, but it's that's I mean I like it because when you get a score that you do feel when I bought we're going back to it again when I bought the Superman soundtrack and listened to it for the first time. And it's good sort of music for jogging and doing exercise too. But if you're wearing a shirt, you just want to rip your shirt.
Yeah.
It's
watch the buttons fly everywhere.
Yeah. And if you're playing with a toy lightsaber, come on, most people have at least things. You got that music going through your head.
Yeah, and don't say you haven't.
No, because if you're listening to this, if you don't have a room full of toys or at least one toy lying around somewhere, yeah, an absolute liar.
But I mean, if we go to the, I suppose if you're a Star Wars fan, go to the dark side.
Yeah.
And you talk about the Jerry Goldsmith theme for Next Generation. That's definitive of Star Trek.
Yeah.
I can't look at Patrick Stewart without hearing that theme. That's another great theme.
And motion picture as well.
It's from the motion picture originally, isn't it? Actually, yeah.
And I just want to. That's the one I'm going to add to my list. And my Blu-ray list as well.
That's one you rediscover. It's like a prequel Star Trek film. Everyone hated it at the time, but it is the one you can go back now and be like, well, actually, this is pretty good, actually. There's some good issues they're dealing with it.
This is where I'm going to get hated again. I think of all the Star Trek films, if I was to pick one to watch, because I know when we have guy nights, and it's all and Star Trek suggested, and I'm usually one to go f off. But to me, if I was to pick a Star Trek film to watch, it would be the motion picture.
Yeah, I mean, like the cliche ones to watch are always the manly ones, aren't they? Like Wrath of Khan and First Contact. And
all the new ones.
All the new ones, yeah. I mean, ironically, my favourite of the new ones was Beyond. I like the Star Trek films that seem like longer episodes that work, and motion picture is definitely one of those. Like, it feels like it's basically a pilot episode for the second series they were going to do, but got cancelled. But when they do the sort of episode films that follow an unrelated aspect to the rest of the series, I think that really works. You know, they do drop the ball with things like Insurrection is terrible.
Yeah.
But I like the sort of the ones where they meander a little bit and they go and do what Star Trek originally was there to do, is explore and look at things that are different.
Vija,
yeah.
That's I liked it because it tied it into something really relevant.
Actually, that's got a really good score, the motion picture.
Yeah.
Like Jerry Goldsmith's another guy as well that we don't think of very much, but you know, he did all the main Star Trek themes apart from the original, and I he did Alien as well, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I'm now pulling him up. Total Recall.
Total Recall, yeah, that's got a good soundtrack as well. Sorry, score.
Yeah. 80.
Rambo as well. Wow, forgot about that.
Yeah, Rambo. We were just watching it the other week. 1979, wasn't it? Or was it 78?
What?
Alien.
Alien was 79. Yeah.
Can't believe
I'm sure. I thought he did Alien.
might be on a different part of this page. We're using IMDb right now, so. 16.
Big composer, wasn't it?
Can't believe I said what year is when it's the 40th anniversary and I went to the cinema to watch it recently.
Oh, Alien is an experience in the cinema you have to see.
Oh, it's absolutely.
It's how I imagine Jaws is. I've not seen Jaws in the cinema.
Kissing our lives from Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Otherwise known as Rambo 2.
Yeah. Oh, Hammerstein by Frank Stallone, First Contact. God, I've got that in my head
He's
now.
basically a Star Trek guy.
Yeah, that's not. Oh, no, that's just. I've got that song in my head now. First Blood. I'm going to look at First Blood. What year was First Blood?
82?
80. Let's have a look. No, I've got that song in my head.
Actually, that's a good. They have good scores as well, don't they? The Rambo films.
Yeah, even the new one when it did the calls
even Rambo 3 as well. I mean, like you can still the theme's still really good. It's just the movie's shy.
When you hear that music kicking in Last Blood,
it really sort of the nostalgia kicks in.
Yeah, and it does. It sets the tone. Yeah. Okay, here's where Jerry Goldsmith. I don't know why I didn't see it on this page. Yeah, First Blood. That's another sound. We're doing this now. I'm just thinking I need more money, so we need to get his Patreon account so I can actually fund our soundtrack collection. Monty Norman.
James Bond. Yes, yeah. John Barry more specifically. You know, for taking like the original theme and he's like the go-to composer guy for the rest of the series, isn't he? I think. I can't even believe I forgot James Bond, man. Sorry. But John Barry's one of the old classics.
Yeah.
I mean, Goldfinger, and they're all themes that are inescapably related to Bond, aren't they?
Yeah, especially when you're because he conducted, like even with John Barry. If you look at all the soundtracks, and these are the ones with the I'm looking on. That's supposed to be.
Not Barry Humphries.
No, I was
Dave
actually.
Edward is not who we're looking for.
No, is he spelled John like this then? John Barry.
No, I think it's a H.
Music department. That's his rules. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Interesting that he comes down 4 5. There's loads of John Barrys. If you go on IMDb, you have to scroll
That's quite
right
a common
down.
name, isn't it?
Yeah. No, John Barry. If you look at Living View to a Kill.
Yeah.
Living Daylights.
And there's also the other James Bond theme, the 007 theme, which is the one that's in 4 or 5 of them, and it's like the sort of melody that I I don't know if we'll get sued or anything. So, but it's the one where the one I would remember it from is when Sean Connery's in Little Nelly. In the
Yeah, I know
It's
the
that
yeah.
one before the helicopters attack
Yeah.
in the main Bond.
He's in a lot of the documentaries.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. It's called the 007 theme.
Yeah.
So and then obviously the James Bond theme is the separate one.
Living Daylights. I like that. I think that's Superman Returns. No, I like the. I just think yeah. Then again, David Arnold took over and gave it more of electronic sound afterwards.
David Arnold. Probably worth a mention as well.
Yeah, for me though, you're saying John Barry. Can we just go on the record saying we are both big James Bond fans?
Oh, massive! Yeah. James Bond is my mastermind subject. If I went on Mastermind, I reckon I could nail it.
He could. It puts me to shame. I really do. I just, yeah. It's going around London, going to the filming location, going to places, die another day. The thing is, with James Bond scores, they a lot of them,
they're recycled, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're like the Star Wars theme, and if they use that in a newer film, it's usually not the original composer that's rearranged it.
It's interesting because we don't have time to do it now, but to pull which ones that weren't John Barry, or
from Bond, yeah, because I'm sure he died after one of. I think he's dead.
Well,
if he's not dead.
2011.
Yeah, so he's died before Casino Royale. Oh no, wait. Before Skyfall, sorry.
Yeah.
But I think he stopped having involvement with them after a certain time, if I know.
But when you listen to, you do think because it was, you do think of.
Oh yeah, it's evocative, isn't it?
Think of it. He's responsible for the first #1 single from a Bond film, with A View to a Kill, and that is a brilliant song.
I'm so amazed it took that long to get a #1 Bond song.
If you think about it, a lot of people they just go and buy the soundtrack or something. If
Actually, he did. I'm sure if this is correct, John Barry did he not do Dances with Wolves as well?
He did do that.
Yeah, that's a really good soundtrack as well, actually. Although it is a hard movie to get through, I think.
I've only seen it a couple of times.
It is good, but it's way too long.
You did You Only Live Twice, but I will not hold that against him.
You Only Live Twice. I love You Only Live Twice.
I like Her Majesty's Secret Service from that period.
I mean, the John Barry theme in that is really iconic as well. I think that wouldn't work with the song.
No.
I like the theme for that. It's really good.
Did he actually write All the Time in the World?
No, I don't think so. I think Louis Armstrong wrote that, didn't he? Didn't Louis Armstrong write all his own stuff?
I'm not sure, but it's still a good song.
It is, yeah. Not many people remember it's a Bond song as well, actually, like, technically.
Let's go down. Music, John Barry. Film edited by John Glenn.
Oh, who became the director of quite a few of them later, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think he is the director with the most, isn't he?
He is about 7 or so.
The hosts with the most.
Because he did the Dalton ones, as well as a lot of Roger Moore.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He did a template for the late 70s, 80s Bond. Then Martin Campbell took over and rebooted it twice.
Yes. So, it was composed by John Barry, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here we are, right? Woo. Peter Hunt, director as well. We can sit here all day.
Bit tertiary here with Bond, but that's what Bond can do to you.
Yeah, we will end up we're running at 58 minutes right now on this podcast, but we could be here all day for another hour, just go completely off subject.
Same as the last one, isn't it? Like you could go forever with the like. If you Googled it, you'd be there with so many top 10 lists.
Yeah. I like On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and it's 50 this year.
It is, yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Recent soundtracks, which has been the one that's
Scores.
Yeah, scores.
Probably the Avengers Endgame one for me is probably the one that I can sort of say I can associate it with that film indisputably. Like the end scene with the portals and everyone pops out. there's no way you can't think of the Avengers theme when that just kicks off.
And I've just pulled it all up right now.
What about you?
The recent ones, yeah. Definitely the Avengers, but if I can go back a couple of years ago, going back into the territory again, I love the ending of episode 8. I love that score.
Oh yeah, the callback to Sith, isn't it?
But as a body of work, I think Alan Silverstreet's, and again, the Ready Player One.
Yeah.
I think of the composers, that aren't John Williams right now. To me, Alan Silverstreet's having a bit of a resurgence again.
Yeah.
But I like the out there-ness of the Mark Mothersbarough's Ragnarok soundtrack. I just thought
fantastic.
it was just, and he does the one for What We Do in the Shadows,
which is absolutely fantastic.
Mark Mothersbaugh.
If you have not seen it, watch it.
It is, yeah. No, I love that
so
series.
good,
That's we will have to do a. We'll have to do a.
Show on that.
Yeah. And we'll do what we'll do is we'll do one of those commentaries episodes of it. We'll pick an episode. The one where they're doing.
I think we could just do the whole series.
Yes.
It's quite short, isn't it?
It is. But if you haven't seen it, What We Do in the Shadows, you want to watch one of the third or fourth episode.
Yeah.
Where he said he's trimming the bush.
Oh yeah.
That to me, that's
funny. Yeah.
One of the greatest setups. What We Do in the Shadows. Yeah, Mark Mothersbaugh, the Lego Movie 2.
Do you know there was one composer I totally forgot about that probably no one would think of unless you were sort of like not an 80s child, but a child of the 80s films, is Basil Poledouris's theme for RoboCop.
Classic. I didn't know.
RoboCop March is great, and he worked with Paul Verhoeven a couple of times actually, because the Starship Troopers music's really good as well.
You think of RoboCop, and again, I can't hum it, but yeah, you do.
Yeah, it's one of those iconic ones, isn't it? But RoboCop's not. I mean, it is a big film, but it's not a massive, huge, massive franchise that you would think of.
I think of Grey.
Yeah, Metal,
and Detroit when I hear it.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
He passed away.
He did Hunt for Red October, that's right, and Conan the Barbarian. Yeah, see, he's got a really sort of orchestral style to his music.
Good. Red Dawn.
Oh God, Red Dawn.
Iron Eagle.
Flesh and Blood.
This is Wired. I think this is the, a very underrated John Belushi film. It's about John Belushi. Michael Chiklis stars as John Belushi. Really got a great ending. Starship Troopers. They'll always use, that's, when you think of RoboCop, you do think of the...
Oh, the music, yeah, definitely, yeah. I mean, it's impossible to associate RoboCop.
It's a question.
Not with his theme,
Here's a question for you. Do you think you can like a soundtrack of a film if you got a film that's really bad but it has a great soundtrack? You think that's possible to
Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, they have great. Video game films tend to have really good soundtracks. Actually, funnily enough, even if they are interminable sometimes.
I like Street Fighter.
Resident Evil has a really good. The first one, Marilyn Manson did the score for the first one, and it's really really good. Like he's a good scorer as well. Street Fighter.
I love that.
Love affairs of the 90s.
Graham Revel.
Oh, it was Graham Revel, yeah. Yeah, see, I mean, like, he's done Tomb Raider as well, which is also a video game movie, but it has a good soundtrack. And I'm sure he did. Did he do The Crow as well?
Crow would be
94, was it?
I'm
sure he did The Crow.
Crow City of Angels.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's at the bottom there.
Did From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh.
Crow, I've only
Power Rangers as well. Wow, I remember that piece of shit.
Psycho 4: The Beginning.
That is terrible.
I've only seen The Crow once.
The Crow's great. I like The Crow, but like, he's a very 90s sort of composer. But like we say, it's not always a bad thing.
No. I want to point out The Crow is an absolutely incredible movie, and I will get around to watching The Crow again. Really good. But I like.
We lost Brandon Lee way too.
Yeah. that's the reason I've only watched The Crow once. It's one of these films that
You
it upset me
associate
too
it,
much when I watched it, and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to find.
It's like the interrogation scene in The Dark Knight for me, for Heath
That's
Ledger. It's
horrible.
hard to watch.
It's not because he passed away, but more so that's so intense.
Yeah.
And it's that whirring music and this background sounds that wouldn't be the same
Yeah.
without it. Everybody,
Actually, ironically, that scene has no music, doesn't it? When they're in the room itself,
isn't it
isn't
whirring?
it just silence? Oh, is it actually like?
Well,
Is
watch
that
it, man. I'm
artificial?
sure it's
Yeah.
whirring.
I
Yeah,
can't remember. Yeah, but I know that it's a hard scene to watch.
yeah. Well, watch it. When we finish the podcast, we'll watch it. The thing that gets me about that scene is everybody got pulled upon Heath Ledger's performance, but
Yeah.
Heath Ledger's only as good as Christian Bale.
Yeah, the cogs.
And the whole
and
everything, and of course the set is the scene itself.
Yeah.
Everything is perfect about that scene, and he was just one piece of it. But wow, and that's another release.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just when Batman goes overboard on it, but cinema is always an ensemble, and to pick one person out in that scene and say it's just him that's great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
We've
because you got Gary Oldman, like he's great as Gordon as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it is. Yeah, but it's that sort of intensity that has to be underscored by the music, doesn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, a lot of it intense scenes, they're rarely silent.
But it's something you were saying about earlier about Danny Elfman being more synonymous with Batman than Hans Zimmer's
For
scores.
me, yeah, at least.
And the fact that we actually, it may not be memorable, but in terms of it's not like standout, like tracks, like songs.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you could argue that a lot of John Williams stuff are like, well, they are songs in themselves, but as a piece of music with lyrics and stuff. The fact that Hans Zimmer stuff and for Batman is underpinning the background, and he still moves along. It's invisible in the sense that you might not remember it. They're not iconic themes, but they are still there, and they are still eliciting emotions, even if you can't remember them. They are working because they're part of the tapestry of the effects, the dialogue, everything is part of the film. They are a cog in it that may not be as memorable, but they're still there adding to the emotion.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you were to take the emotion out of it, it wouldn't work.
Wouldn't work. No, I mean, for those that are unaware, there's actually two soundtracks for Batman. There's the Prince soundtrack, and then there's the Danny Elfman score, isn't there?
Yeah.
What less said about the Prince thing? I'm not a fan of
I was listening to
Prince
Batman
thing.
the other day. I'm sorry. I was listening to the other day. I never
So cringy. But I mean, you can listen to Danny Elfman stuff all the time. Like anytime.
And the Simpsons theme.
Yeah. I forgot that was him. Yeah.
I think we're exhausted. We've got on John Williams.
Yeah, I mean, actually, funny enough, there's a joke, isn't there, about those two in the Family Guy of Star Wars thing, the Blue Harvest.
Yeah.
Where John Williams is like a skeleton with the orchestra when the Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen scene happens.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, it means we're gonna have to get Danny Elfman.
It would be interesting to see. It would be interesting to see someone else scoring.
Yeah, I would love to see like a Danny Elfman Star Wars soundtrack or a Hans Zimmer Marvel. No, I suppose that's not very superior stuff, isn't it? But that sort of thing.
Well, now that John Williams is retired after 9, it'll be interesting to see who they actually pick.
Or Alan Silvestri doing like a rom-com or something like that. Something
why not?
suited to his grandiosity.
Why not?
Yeah.
Interesting, because these people have got these artists have got to have like something they want to do that's just out there, out of their zone.
Yeah.
Is so that's any final comments?
No, just I mean, there's so much ground to cover that we'd kind of have to keep this shorter than I'd like. I mean, you could go on for this for hours, but yeah, I think it's impossible not to talk about John Williams, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there's so many out there. I mean, even if you're not a soundtrack fan, like you don't buy soundtracks, it's definitely worth trying to get into them because they're a different type of music listening style for me. Like, it's more of a sort of laying in bed, relaxing, or walking music to me than it is sort of if you're on like a journey somewhere. I mean, I find it hard to listen to soundtracks when I'm on journeys
I'm the
because I'm
opposite.
distracted from everything. Where I'm sitting by myself, just not doing anything. I love soundtracks.
Soundtracks and scores. This is
Yeah,
I
secondary
actually
school. Sorry, yeah.
I will I will listen to scores. Will but scores when you've got more people in the car, it's harder to do because you have
Yeah,
to like the film.
people will talk over it as well. And
But when
I
you
think in cars as well, I get distracted looking out the window easier, so I go back and go, "Oh, sorry, I didn't even know that was on." You know. But
I for me it's when you're traveling places we have a tradition where you listen to the Lost Boys soundtrack.
Lost. Oh yeah, I'm surprised you didn't mention that.
Yeah, I mean like there's a
Because
soundtrack,
it's a
not a score.
soundtrack. Yeah, I keep fucking making that.
And if you're in a car where one of you is a dominant Star Wars fan, you really don't want to be listening. You really don't want to be having everybody else in the car going, "Not effing Star Wars." Again.
Yeah.
Or why would effing listening to Harry Potter or you've got to really appreciate that kind of music.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky because my fiance likes Harry Potter and she
Yeah.
likes Jurassic Park.
Lucky for you.
So when I find out they got the Jurassic Park soundtrack here for £6,
She's
click buy.
excited. Yeah,
She's
I
like,
think it's the same sort of level as liking classical music, isn't it? Like a lot of people sort of think, what's this guy doing? Like, who listens to that anymore? But it's that same artistry that I don't listen to classical music personally, but I think it's the closest thing to classical music we have nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah.
Soundtracks, scores. Sorry, I keep saying soundtrack. Film scores.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's probably my tuppence on the subject.
Yeah, I think with everything's been said, that's been the High Ground podcast discussing, having a little conversation about scores. I'm Stevie W.
Callum.
See you all soon.
See you later, guys.